calm, they keep us out of sight.
The soloists are kind of going over their final lines.
Hi, how are ya?
The ticket office is giving out tickets.
Yep, there it is.
It's a huge risk to commission any work of art, no matter how big or small. In my mind, for a while, it's just an idea.
Up the stairs and to the right.
But the moment it's on stage, it's sort of you open the doors to the world and let them in.
Good evening, folks. May I help you with your seat?
Tonight, a world premiere on this Kansas City stage.
Tonight is the world premiere of We the Unknown.
Ready?
To a story about the unknown soldier from World War I.
I think this is a story that was waiting to be told. Heroes aren't limited to a single category of people. Heroes can come from anywhere.
Tonight, how music reveals the unknown soldier in a way you may never have thought about.
He might have been our next president.
A gay soldier, a black soldier.
We had a lot of people who were recent immigrants.
He might have been the guy that goes back and runs the hardware store in your hometown.
The soldier picked to represent all who served.
There are unknowns around us every day.
Does the soldier's story go deeper than we may have ever known?
You're bringing voice to what everybody thought, and what everybody thinks about who are they.
Tonight, an American soldier known but to God on this edition of Chronicle.
Hello and welcome. From the Folly Theater in downtown Kansas City, Missouri, I'm Chris Ketz.
And I'm Laura Moritz. Welcome to Chronicle, a new program here at Kmbc News. Over the next hour, we go behind the scenes here at the Folly Theater with a world premiere. A choir sings about the unknown soldier.
Tonight, why they're pushing us all to imagine for just a moment who that soldier might be in that tomb from World War I and why it matters today. Here's Matt Fleener.
Up to 4 million people visit Arlington National Cemetery and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier every year.
This soldier here not only gave up his life, but he gave up his identity as well.
Yet no visitor has ever figured out who's inside that marble tomb from World War I.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
The Tomb Sentinels.
M. Sentinel St. Pierre.
Who demand silence and respect here. Not even they know.
Present! Oh!
Not even the most powerful leaders in the world have known for whom the wreaths are laid.
I think we think in terms of ourselves. So I'm a white male, so I would think that the unknown soldier had to have been a white male. But that's not necessarily the case.
Meet retired Army officer Rob Hill. Even after his distinguished military career of 20 years, he's still giving orders.
No, let's go big.
To a fellow band of brothers.
Each have a name.
A choir.
That our mothers gave at our...
Taking on a special mission. To sing about America's unknown soldier from World War I.
Sometime in your life you have an idea. And that idea just won't shake itself loose.
Their mission is not to identify the unknown soldier, but imagine through music whom the unknown could be.
Before he was a soldier, he was my son.
So Hill enlisted Tim Takash, a composer.
There's this one unknown person that somehow is supposed to represent all.
Not only do they represent everybody, but they are one individual person who is a real person who lived a life, who was loved.
Retired Hallmark writer Pat Daneman got recruited to write lyrics too. Together, their mission began with this picture from 1921. Army Sergeant Edward Younger's in the back of the room there, almost impossible to see. He's standing behind 2 of 4 flag-draped U.S. coffins. They're unknown U.S. soldier remains from 4 major French battlefields: Meuse-Argonne, Aisne-Marne, the Somme, and Saint-Mihiel, as seen on these maps and displays at the National World War I Museum and Memorial in Kansas City. Younger thought he was there to be a pallbearer for the unknown, but an officer at the last minute gave him a bouquet of white roses and said it was Younger's duty to select from the 4.
What he did was he circled the coffins 3 times and then felt moved to a particular one of the caskets, and that's the casket that he put the white roses on.
You could see the roses on the casket of the unknown after Younger's selection in 1921, as the 3 other caskets returned to a cemetery in France. The decorated military veteran recreated the rose ceremony in 1930, visiting the soldier once again on American soil. Today, Younger is buried in Section 18 of Arlington National Cemetery, just down the hill from the U.S. soldier without a name he may have fought alongside, and he selected for America to honor nearly 100 years ago.
I must choose just one.
So, the artists saw it fitting,
But in choosing one, I choose all.
in their new musical performance, to give Younger a voice.
In honoring one, I honor all.
About the choice before him.
And he's sort of expressing openly his thoughts about this daunting task that he's been given.
But they didn't stop there.
So I got the idea of these 4 people sort of having their own sound.
The musicians thought the 4 unknowns in those caskets, in that room with Younger, should have a profile too.
We explored the idea that the unknown might have been an African American.
This was a soldier who was with his lover in the
The
trenches.
fact is, it might be someone who was quite fearful.
The 4th one is from the perspective of a mother who's lost her son.
They wanted to ask us if the unknowns in those caskets and all the unknowns from war should be remembered as similar.
I think that is the stereotype, that there are these young white men from America that are sort of all the same.
Or could they, and should they, be remembered in a different way?
Immediately when he said, let's do a concert about the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and I was like, are you kidding? Really?
Eventually.
Oh, okay, well, let me hear about what you have to say.
Hill's conceptualized unknown soldier profiles found their way to sheet music in front of Kansas City's Heartland Men's Chorus.
We the Unknown is a 1-act choral theater piece telling the story of the creation of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and then sort of awakening those soldiers and identifying who they are.
And then the rest of the libretto brings the 4 individuals, the 4 soldiers who are in each of those coffins to life and imagines what if.
What if we explored if the soldiers we might not expect could be America's unknown?
I'd like to think that we all have the potential to be heroic.
What if, in and around those trenches, to save the world from tyranny in World War I, we lost an identity? But through music, we might see the unknown from the battlefield with a new perspective on duty, diversity, and equality.
One of our founding principles is that we are all created equal.
Up next, the hard work to bring those unknown soldiers to life on stage.
When Chronicle, known but to God, continues.
The message of this piece is that there is an infinite possibility of who could be the unknown soldier.
Welcome back to Chronicle, a new program you'll see right here on KMBC 9 News from time to time. I'm Chris Ketz.
And I'm Lara Moritz. Chronicle allows us to look deeper into issues and events in Kansas City.
We're at Kansas City's Folly Theater downtown, the site of a world premiere that you'll hear tonight. A Kansas City choir debuting brand new music to pay tribute to America's Unknown Soldier from World War I.
Next, we explore the deeper reason for why they're doing it and the challenge they have for all of us.
Again, here's Matt Fleener.
Hello, everybody. Singers will come in. They'll get their packets of music. Welcome back. Extend the hands of friendship and massage, and we'll sing ha 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 ha.
For nearly 32 years, the Hands of Friendship have welcomed hundreds of men to sing with the Heartland Men's Chorus.
We sing for something greater than ourselves.
Artistic director Dustin Cates leads this group of singers every Tuesday at practice at Grace and Holy Trinity Cathedral.
I'll stay right in the groove.
Put it all together.
Chorus member Rob Hill has waited 10 years for this night.
This will be the first time actually hearing voices associated with the notes. So that's very cool.
But tonight we're going to read through the entire concert.
Because this really means it's real.
The retired Army officer has co-written a set of lyrics. His friends in this men's chorus are about to sing for the first time. A story put to music called We the Unknown. It's a story about the selection of America's unknown soldier in the tomb from World War I at Arlington National Cemetery.
The message of this piece is that there is an infinite possibility of who could be the unknown soldier.
When Hill first heard how the soldier was selected, he started wondering if the unknown or any other unknowns could have been like him.
When I first heard someone tell this story aloud, I thought, well, what if the one who was selected was gay?
Hill is gay. He served in uniform for 20 years, not able to talk openly about his authentic self. But in addition, his three-generation military background, his grandfather's service in World War I, and the tours he gives at the National World War I Museum in Kansas City all influenced him, in part, to start thinking about the unknown soldier in a lot of different ways.
I just like the idea that we don't necessarily have to have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy. It could be, someone of color.
He thought, what if that unknown was one of roughly 400,000 black soldiers in World War I?
The sad thing is, for all their bravery, they come back to a country in which there is inequality.
What if, he thought, we could see the soldier through the eyes of a mother who lost her son to a bullet in battle, then displayed a gold star as a symbol to others of her sacrifice? What if that unknown got his head shaved just after the draft, but inside was so afraid of what he had been signed up for?
I think that's the power, too, of this story, is that we imagine 4 lives, and there are infinitely more lives that could be imagined.
If I want to create something that doesn't exist, I can.
But Hill still needed another writer's touch. So he asked author Pat Daneman to put her thoughts on paper too.
I am so excited about hearing a lot of people sing my words. That is a new experience for me. Obviously, the character that was easiest for me to identify with was the mother.
As the mom of a son, she felt drawn to the unknown son, lost to the poppy fields of France, whose mother never got a cross with a name to bury him at home.
She starts, before he was a soldier, he was my son, a boy before he was a man. You wish to know him? Let me say he hated lima beans and loved vanilla ice cream.
She wrote, too, about that possible unknown black soldier who may have built the railroads or unloaded ships, but also may have fought on the front lines with his brothers from the Buffalo Soldiers.
So the black soldier says, they try to pretend that we're not here. Just like back home, they keep us out of sight and give us the dirty work. But I'm a damn good soldier, and I've come to fight. You think of the unknown soldier as representing all soldiers, but this takes it a step further, and it says, not only are they unknown, they're known.
Known, because a choir in Kansas City will give them a voice. This first rehearsal, a little hint of what's to come.
I can't wait until it's like full up.
As we reveal much more about the unknown soldier. From World War I.
When Chronicle returns, making music no one has ever heard about a soldier no one knows.
I think that's a really strong theme of the piece, that we don't know who this person is, but they need to represent everybody.
Meet a Minnesota man who spent a year putting notes on paper to honor the unknown soldier from World War I like never before. Welcome back to Chronicle. Tonight, KMBC 9 News is showing you a special tribute to America's unknown soldier from World War I.
The Heartland Men's Chorus is celebrating the unknown through songs here at the Folly.
But before the big debut on stage here at the Folly, somebody had to actually make the music.
Matt Fleener traveled to Minnesota to meet the composer.
Fresh snow had just fallen in February when we met music composer Tim Takash.
The piano vocal score I'm turning into the orchestral score.
At his computer, Takash had just a few months left to finish what he started composing in his notebook the spring before.
Yeah, I start with the libretto. When I write, I sit here with a pencil and a really good eraser.
A piece called We the Unknown, commissioned for the Heartland Men's Chorus in Kansas City.
Robert Hill, the librettist, is very visual, and so he sort of has imagined the opening of this piece as it would be on the stage. And in his mind, he can see the 4 caskets from which the unknown soldier has been chosen.
From those 4 caskets, Sergeant Edward Younger had to choose from in 1921 in a ceremony in France. Younger eventually chose America's unknown soldier from World War I.
I got the idea of these 4 people sort of having their own sound. And then you hear 1, 2, 3, 4. And this third one, which is the one he ends up choosing, the third from the left, I think it is the one that calls out. So you hear 1, 2, 3, 4.
The one we still honor in that marble tomb today, an American soldier known but to God.
I think that's a really strong theme of the piece, that we don't know who this person is, but they need to represent everybody.
Takash has written about 130 pieces of music in his career. A process that usually starts in the pool.
Because I use it to sort of brainstorm.
This professional musician uses laps to map out musical links in his mind.
Every once in a while, I'll inhale some water and I'll stop brainstorming for just a little bit while I recover. Because although I like swimming, I'm not that great at it.
But something great must happen in that pool to pay off like this in practice.
And
His compositions have become some of the most sought-after work for musicians around the world.
So there was that one spot at the bottom of 7 where you shouted out, "Take a breath," and I would rather not.
He's particular.
1 and 2.
Yet patient. Knowing just how beautiful and moving music can be.
When you hear those moments come to life, it's like, oh yeah, that's what I wanted. They're doing it. Know him, you wish to know him. See, that should be courtesy. Finding edits. I've got the manuscript, which I wrote at the piano.
Exactly why he thought writing music about the unknown soldier.
A new day breaks, more horrible than the last.
Could lead us all to think about that soldier who saw new days break during World War I more horrible than the last.
What is when I sink?
To think about the unknown sacrifice and duty, but also potential diversity.
I think that is the stereotype, that there are these young white men from America that are sort of all the same. We think of them as just that sort of soldier shape person. One of the characters might be that, but the biggest thing we explore is the fact that he starts out a coward. He's scared, and he admits that. He doesn't quite know how to deal with that.
A new day breaks, more horrible than the last. You want to say anything as we go?
No, but this is exciting.
So, imagine Takashi's excitement at this rehearsal. A month before the big performance, as he came to Kansas City to listen as the Heartland Men's Chorus and the Unknown Soldiers actually start singing his music.
For such a long time, it's just this idea, it's this thing we want to make, and I do my part and make this set of instructions and hand it over, and then to come on a day like today where I get to hear human beings put breath into these words, into these notes, it's an amazing feeling.
Stay right with me, stay right with me.
Stay with us, as the world premiere of We the Unknown is just minutes away. But first, the soldier for whom they sing, and the soldiers who guard the tomb. When we come back, it's here in Arlington National Cemetery. We talk to a former tomb sentinel about what he thought about when he guarded the tomb, and if he ever thought about who may be in there.
Welcome back to Chronicle. I'm Laura Moritz with Chris Ketz. That was the Heartland Men's Chorus practicing brand new songs about America's unknown soldier from World War I.
We're here at the National World War I Museum and Memorial here in Kansas City.
It was November 1st, 1921, a group of world leaders dedicated the site of the Liberty Memorial. Just more than a week later, those same leaders traveled just outside Washington, D.C. to dedicate the tomb of the unknown soldier in Arlington National Cemetery.
Matt Fleener takes us to Arlington tonight to learn more about the soldier known but to God.
In a steady rain, the honor guard stood ready on this April afternoon near the tomb of the unknown soldier in Arlington National Cemetery. As the door opened, out came one of the most powerful men in the world, France's 25th president, Emmanuel Macron, there on the left. He walked toward that marble tomb with an unknown American soldier inside. He acknowledged the immense honor before him, even in less than ideal conditions. To place a wreath from the people of France for that American soldier who died on a French battlefield nearly 100 years ago in World War I, along with the other two unknowns here on the plaza, and all the unknowns buried around the world. He made the ribbon perfect, a symbol of precision and reflection for a soldier's sacrifice. It was just one day later.
They wanted to truly ensure that this individual was unknown.
Historian Chris Warren gave Kmbc behind-the-scenes access to the same exact room President Macron had learned how Sergeant Edward F. Younger picked America's unknown in 1921.
The World War I unknown was presented with various awards and decorations. The Medal of Honor, of course, the Purple Heart, the Distinguished Service Cross.
The grainy films from that war show us the cannon blasts the soldier may have tried to dodge in the fields of France to earn those medals, or the trenches he may have hid in. Ultimately, 1,622 American soldiers became unknown after World War I. The atrocity of trench warfare left battlefields full of untraceable body parts and families at home shattered. Their son, brother, or husband would never come back.
For those families, there was one place they could come, where they could come to a grave itself.
Today, the unknown soldier in that marble tomb is one of 1,295 still unidentified from World War I.
Because they're unidentifiable, the remains, I think that gives some hope and some solace to family members that no matter who you are, no matter where you came from, the person in that tomb could have been your loved one.
We're not just guarding a grave, we're guarding somebody's family member. The first thing I see when I walk up on the plaza, especially as a former tomb guard, is the tomb.
The honor of guarding the sacred site falls to soldiers like Gavin McElvenna.
That's my brother. Each one of the soldiers that are buried in the crypt, and that empty crypt for the Vietnam unknown soldier, those are my brothers.
McElvenna served as tomb sentinel from 1997 to 1998.
During my time, I had 4 unknown soldiers on the plaza that I guarded.
That is, until the Vietnam unknown, Air Force First Lieutenant Michael Blassie was identified by DNA evidence in 1998, then exhumed in a ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery. Today, that crypt remains vacant to honor all those still missing from that era, alongside the unknown remains from Korea, World War II, and World War I. The Army's Old Guard watches over them. Every hour, every day, every year.
You talk to them, you wonder who their families were, where they came from.
There's a special bond the Sentinels and the unknown share.
At first I sent the men ahead of me.
Exactly why hearing for the first time an unknown soldier's voice through music
As around us the earth explodes
is so powerful.
Wow. Thank you.
Wow.
No, that was amazing.
I think it was amazing.
It's McElvenna's first time to actually hear the work he gave input on by the Heartland Men's Chorus in Kansas City. He came to listen and help the choir get ready for their upcoming concert.
When the crowd leaves the cemetery, and it's just the sentinel and the unknown soldiers that are buried there, we have the opportunity to think the very things that you brought into song.
The very things like whom that soldier loved, where he lived, or the fears or dreams in his head as he died on that French battlefield. Could we possibly see him today through a different lens?
Our armed forces in general are made up of Americans from every race, color, creed, orientation, it doesn't matter.
When Chronicle returns, changing the guard.
Even in the middle of the night in the worst weather, we're watching.
The work of KMBC 9 photojournalists to show you the honor and protection the unknown soldier receives at all times.
Hello and welcome back to the National World War I Museum and Memorial right here in Kansas City. I'm Chris Ketz.
And I'm Laura Moritz. We continue our look at a Kansas City choir's connection to the unknown soldier. And what a process for this choir.
It really was. This choir spent about 6 months, the Heartland Men's Chorus, really unpacking who the unknown soldier from World War I is. And they want to ask this basic question. It is the soldier in that tomb in Arlington National Cemetery someone we might not expect or somebody we might not often think of when we go to the tomb there?
And Matt Fleener, what an incredibly moving moment it is to be there as the changing of the guard happens at Arlington National Cemetery.
Yes, it's about a 9-minute ceremony there, and you really get to see the dedication of these tomb sentinels, the old guard there in Arlington. And it's an incredible process as documented by our photojournalists, and we've had some great photojournalists work on this story with us. Todd Ummelman, Alan Shope, Whitney Tyler, and Turner Twyman. And Whitney and Turner actually show us the dedication that it takes to change the guard there at Arlington, as told by former tomb sentinel Gavin McElvenna.
Whenever you see a guard change going on and you look into the crowd, you can see an American being made every single time. The tomb has been guarded continuously since 1937. A place where families can come to pay their respects to their loved ones who never came home.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
I remember distinctly the first time I watched it.
I am Sergeant Hudson of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, United States Army, Guard of Honor, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
I was sitting on the steps like a lot of people do.
The ceremony that you are about to witness is the changing of the guard. In keeping with the dignity of this ceremony, it is requested that everyone remain silent and standing.
I could have sworn, even though I was at an angle, he was talking right to me.
Thank you.
You form such a bond with the unknown soldiers as you're doing this duty. You always wonder. You wonder who their families were, where they came from, were they from your state? What service did they fight in? Where did they fight and die? What were the buddies next to them doing when it all happened? Yeah, you wonder. When America can see the commitment that our nation has to her fighting men and women by seeing a sentinel there 24/7, rain, shine, snow, wind, hurricanes, it doesn't matter.
Forward.
Then they begin to understand our commitment to the people of this nation. Even in the middle of the night in the worst weather, we're watching. We're making sure that their rest is eternal and is protected because they've certainly earned it.
As we continue, a Kansas City choir asks us to see the unknown soldier from World War I as someone diverse or someone we might not expect.
Heck, even if you use DNA testing, it would possibly, you're not going to find out sexual orientation, or if somebody's religious principles or political principles, you're not going to find that out anyway.
Do their stories hold up to history? Next on KMBC 9's Chronicle.
Hello and welcome again. I'm Chris Ketz along with Laura Moritz. Tonight on this edition of Chronicle, a group of Kansas City musicians explores whether America's unknown soldier from World War I could have been somebody we may not have known or even expect.
Next, we introduce you to a historian from the National World War I Museum to see if a Kansas City choir's brand new songs are historically accurate.
We also take you back to Arlington for a historian's perspective there. Again, here's Matt Fleener.
In our library, and this is only about half our library out here, by the way. We have 10,000 titles.
Deep inside the research room.
And I'm going to...
In the basement of Kansas City's World War I Museum and Memorial, historian Jonathan Casey
here it
is in search
Here's the book.
of one specific title.
The Sexual History of the World War by Magnus Hirschfeld.
The Sexual History of the World War is one of the only available documents talking about homosexuality in World War I. The book shows a propaganda picture made by the Italian army showing enemy soldiers as homosexuals. But Casey's research says he's found nothing talking about homosexuality among the ranks of U.S. service members.
That was not something to be discussed publicly at all.
So let's get into it at So Speak at the pickup to 39.
Yet nearly 100 years later,
1 and 2 and go.
Kansas City's Heartland Men's Chorus has decided to discuss that topic through a series of songs. A brand new choral work called We the Unknown. They're exploring if America's unknown soldier in Arlington National Cemetery could have been a soldier we might not expect, and if that might change our perception of the man in the tomb.
Is it possible that the unknown soldier that's in Arlington National Cemetery, the Tomb of the Unknowns from World War I, was homosexual? I mean, is it possible? Yeah. Within the realm of possibility. Yeah. I mean, because again, how would one know?
Casey says it's also possible the unknown soldier could have been black or afraid to go to war like the choir presents, and most definitely a mother's son she would never see return. But we must all remember, he says, the military leaders who helped pick the unknown from World War I destroyed any records from the 4 caskets selected from major French battlefields, from which Army Sergeant Edward Younger ultimately chose America's unknown.
Heck, even if you would use DNA testing, it would possibly, you're not going to find out sexual orientation, and you're not going to find out about, that anyway, or if somebody's religious principles or political principles, you're not going to find that out anyway.
You would like to know who they are, but in a larger sense, what they represent is perhaps more important than who they were individually.
Historian Chris Warren at Arlington National Cemetery says we will most likely always wonder who the unknown from World War I is.
We know it was a male. We know they were a U.S. military service member. But other than that, it could have been anyone who served overseas.
Warren, who actually went to the University of Kansas, has wondered many things about the unknown.
Could this be an individual from Kansas who lived on a farm and was called up, who had never maybe been out of his town?
So he says Americans should never stop searching for stories at this sacred site and learning the sacrifice of all soldiers who've served like the tomb sentinels and the unknowns buried here.
When they're guarding that tomb, they're guarding their brother. They're guarding someone that was just like them. That could be from anywhere, any place, from any background.
I'm going to pull out this one poster. So these are African-American soldiers who were working on the docks.
Meanwhile, back in the research room at the National World War I Museum and Memorial,
I think this is going to be about one of a kind.
Soldiers not many paid attention to in World War I as the possible unknown have given us all plenty of material to keep exploring.
Whether it was a white soldier or a black soldier, or it could be a Hispanic soldier or whatever. They just saw that this person just sacrificed, and it's representative of all those who sacrificed.
When we come back, the world premiere of a Kansas City Choir's tribute to America's unknown soldier. That's next on KMBC 9's Chronicle, Known But to God.
Welcome back to Chronicle. From the Folly Theater in downtown Kansas City, Missouri, I'm Chris Ketz.
And I'm Laura Moritz. You are about to hear from soldiers no one knows brought to life right here in this theater by a Kansas City choir.
This is a musical tribute to America's unknown soldiers featuring the Heartland Men's Chorus in a world premiere. Once again, here's Matt Fleener.
Typically before the show, the chorus shows up a little early.
They try to pretend that we're not here, just like back home, they keep us out of sight.
The soloists are kind of going over their final lines.
Hi, how are ya?
The ticket office is giving out tickets.
Yep, there it is.
It's a huge risk to commission any work of art, no matter how big or small. In my mind, for a while, it's just an idea.
Up the stairs and to the right.
But the moment it's on stage, it's sort of you open the doors to the world and let them in.
Good evening, folks. May I help you with your seat?
At Kansas City's Folly Theater,
Hello.
they're ready for a world premiere.
Tonight is the world premiere of We the Unknown.
Ready?
White roses, pure as snow.
On stage,
How will I know.
Army Sergeant Edward F. Younger
One to choose.
has a bouquet of white roses and a daunting choice.
Perhaps if I circle round.
The enlisted soldier, at first chosen as a pallbearer for the unknown soldier in 1921, was given the task at the very last minute to put white roses on one of 4 caskets with unknown American soldiers' remains, to select the one we still honor from World War I today.
You asked people how they would see them, they might say they saw, 4 white, straight guys who knew exactly what they were getting into, which can't possibly be true.
Poet Pat Daneman helped illuminate retired Army officer Rob Hill's idea to challenge us all through compelling music.
So I will walk.
To imagine the 4 unknowns Sergeant Younger had to choose from as soldiers we may never have imagined before.
A soldier who's openly expressing his fear of going into battle.
It is an interesting feeling, fear, part dread, part shame.
Black soldier.
They try to pretend that we're not here. Just like back home, they keep us out of sight and give us the dirty work. But I'm a damn good soldier.
Gay soldier.
To this, to him, I pledge my all. I pledge my all.
The 4th unknown, it's his mother telling his story. So we sort of get the outline of that individual.
He hated lima beans and loved vanilla ice cream.
The songs.
Blossoms fill the air.
Performed on stage for the first time ever with Kansas City's Heartland Men's Chorus and the U.S. Army Field Chorus Men's Ensemble.
As a composer, that's when I get to let it go.
When spring comes back with rustling shade.
Are the work of composer Tim Takash.
I just kind of have to sit and let it wash over me.
There's an impact, Takash says, to look at the unknown soldiers and all soldiers as ones with much deeper stories.
We spend the whole piece trying to figure out who these people might have been, and it's up to the character of Sergeant Younger to decide which one of these caskets is the unknown soldier.
Close my eyes and hear you.
Sergeant Younger is center stage, down center stage, and he's holding this bouquet of white roses. And these 4 might have been unknowns come forward and gather around, and you see them from the back, and so they're facing him. And they're just surrounding him, and you get this overwhelming sense of responsibility that he must have felt with them sort of looking him in the face. And we don't get to see him choose, and at that point we realize it doesn't really matter, because as soon as he chooses, that person, that body, that casket, all of a sudden transforms into a symbol.
And it should be a unifying symbol, a symbol that brings us together.
He might have come from any one of millions of American homes. We do not know his station in life, because from every station came the patriotic response of the 5 millions. President Warren Harding said those very words at the unknown soldier's burial on this very ground, where nearly 100 years later, dedicated Americans still honor a soldier's sacrifice.
And we just see this concrete slab, but what's powerful in that is that here are Americans from all walks of life, from all over America at this place, honoring a young man who gave his life for his country.
So, shouldn't we get to know every American soldier's story better before they're gone? Or for that matter, shouldn't we get to know everyone better?
There are unknowns around us every day. There are individuals who are going through life and are facing challenges. They may not be the challenge of battle, but they are battles in their own right, and that's sort of what this piece gets after. Anybody could be the unknown. Anybody could in a sense, be our hero.
A hero who rests in honored glory. An American soldier. Known but to God.
He's meant to represent us all.
Thank you for joining us for this inaugural edition of KMBC9's Chronicle, a deeper look at issues and events right here in Kansas City. And you'll be seeing more editions of Chronicle in the months to come.
We leave you with more from the Heartland Men's Chorus and their tribute to the unknown soldier, along with the names of the unknowns from World War I from Kansas and Missouri.
For everyone at KMBC 9 News, good night.